right, just another couple minutes of me ranting on this International Swine Flu Conference document and what took place in the past couple days. And then we will go to Ronnie, Paul, Roland, Jeff, Arthur, Sherry, Mark, Travis, Dave, and many others. Yes, we have a loaded phone line, so please be patient. All right, so topics are going to include mass fatality planning. National Pandemic Influenza Medical Countermeasures. They're all in that document right there if you want to read what they are. We already read the most important section. No individual human rights for you. I can promise that. Concurrent breakout session number 1, mass fatality management planning. Mass fatality management planning. Well, what's underneath that? Developing and implementing training and exercise programs. And that's why I have this stack of articles right here, which are all local news articles from Arizona to Illinois to Texas. And I think there's a couple others. New York and New Jersey are also in here, and they're all running drills that are similar to one another. Weird. And they're all taking place right around the time of this International Swine Flu Conference or afterwards. Very odd indeed. Interesting how this is being coordinated. Local news articles all about what's going on in my hand right here to the left. So under mass fatality management planning, we have develop and implement training and exercise program. That's what this is all about. We'll get to that later. Direct fatality management tactical operations. How are we going to get rid of those bodies? Activate fatality management operations. Conduct morgue operations. Manage anti-mortem data. Seems pretty glim, okay? Well, what are we going to do in the next one? Psychological issues. What are we going to do if people are unwilling to follow the government's orders? What are we going to do? Well, since you have no individual human rights, they could probably just shoot you right in the head. Or they could enact, instead of WHO or international law, they could just enact Presidential Directive 13375, where they can put you into jail for up to a year and then fine you for $250,000. It's very lovely. Let's see. So don't follow the government's orders. We got plans for you. Concurrent breakout session number 4, continuity of operations, and here it is, continuity of government planning. But the shadow government doesn't exist, Jason. No. See, this is where you get your Google skills into play, okay? This is where you can find out that the shadow government is real. Continuity of government is the shadow government. That's what when they're saying continuity of government, that's, again, a synonym for shadow government. It's the same exact program. Most people can't wrap their heads around this. The shadow government only exists in those James Bond movies, Jason. Yeah, they're good movies, but that's what they are. They're movies. You're a liar. Well, it says when H1 flu pandemic unfolds in 2 or 3 successive waves in a calendar year, what are we going to do? Remember, they're going to do it in waves. When they get everybody sick with this first wave of shots, they're going to claim all the people that they got sick. You know, they just didn't act in time, and people already developed an immunity, and those people they shot up and got sick will get other people sick, and they'll do it in waves. See, they've already engineered this. Law enforcement agencies must control and diffuse social unrest and public disorder. And how are we going to isolate prisons and other facilities? They also talk about effectively undertaking mass vaccinations and enforcing quarantines. Where did we read about quarantines? WHO, level 6 checklist for influenza pandemic preparedness planning. Let's see, they're going to control traffic, evacuation, and mass transportation. They are planning for a 30 to 40% drop in the labor force. Do you hear me? Almost 1/3 to half of people will not be showing up to work for some reason. That is unbelievable to me. To say, to say 2 in 4 or 1 in 4 aren't going to show up to work. Well, they're saying more than 1 in 4. 25% isn't even on here. And then they have to train the workers to screen for symptoms and know what to do when other workers fall ill. And they're doing the same thing for teachers in schools. Train teachers to screen for symptoms and know what to do when teachers fall ill. Transport ill students. Oh, they get to go to the nice little quarantine center they've set up. Isn't that lovely? Your kid goes to school. A teacher says, oh, no, he could be sick. I don't want that swine flu. I can't stand it. And he goes on a bus, because they also say effectively transform school facilities into shelters. So the schools themselves might become the quarantine centers, or other schools or churches like they discuss in here, or other businesses that they take over. I mean, again, it's all about internationalism. It's not about federal guidelines. It's about the UN takeover, baby. And then, of course, they have to deal with the infectious waste management from all of these bodies. Because the big thing, I mean, I need you to zoom in on this right here, Hoosh. I mean, look at the very first thing. What are they worried about? Mass fatality management planning. That's what they're worried about. A bunch of people dying and what they're going to do with the bodies. For the sniffles. For something you need a Kleenex and a bottle of Schweppes for. That's it, okay? Maybe some chicken soup. That's about it. A little ibuprofen. That's what they're getting ready for mass casualties with. All right, I got like a dozen people on the line. I already ranted about this document for half the segment. Let's go to Ronnie in Texas. Ronnie, you're on the line.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I've been on hold for a while, and I have to defy your rule there about having to speak about the swine flu, if you don't mind. Because
actually, I do mind. Got to let you go. I told you we were going with swine flu callers right off the bat. Listen, I don't ask for much on the show. You get to talk about whatever you want in the next 2 hours. I said we were spending the first hour on the swine flu. I understand you were holding for a long time, Ronnie. Listen, you call back in the next hour or the hour after where I'm taking calls, I'll throw you to the top of the line. I got a dozen people on the line. If it's not swine flu, hang up, folks. I mean, that's what we're talking about. I didn't even get to these 15 local articles that I have to go over. Let's go to Paul in California. Paul, you're on the line.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it.
This is what I'm freaked about. My 11-year-old is about to enter middle school into the 6th grade, and with all this swine flu vaccination and everything, I'm just really concerned that they could actually force inoculate her at school, not even give her an option.
Well, they're not going to try to give her an option. Listen, this is what I would look out for. First of all, in the first week, month of school, you get a ton of permission slips and guidelines for extracurricular activities. Watch for them sneaking in a provision into other activities and language where they say that you're for the swine flu. In other words, they'll get your signature on something. You don't even realize that it involves inoculations or the swine flu. They'll be very slick about it. So number one, don't sign anything you read a dozen times. Number two, when they decide to make your kids' school a mass vaccination center, which it looks like they're doing for all these different schools. Again, I have the paper right here where it says New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Arizona, parts of California. All of them are local stories. They want to use these places to get your kids and then the parents afterwards. Now, this Washington Post article is trying to claim that it's not going to be mandatory. Well, if it's not going to be mandatory, and really there is no way to actually make it mandatory constitutionally, just say, look, we're not taking the shot. I have a moral objection to this. We don't take shots in my family. You got to fight it tooth and nail. So you just got to be aware. Yes, go ahead.
The National Guard and the military are standing by. I don't know what these creeps are capable of doing anymore. I'm freaked.
Well, that's when you just take your kid out of school for the week. Look, I know it's scary. We didn't play the clip yet, but last week they did. One of these drills did involve the National Guard. The National Guard, not even in regular National Guard uniforms. They were in basically black military police state type riot gear that was like decked out in National Guard colors, but they had the batons, they had the chest plates, they had the big black masks. And if it does get to that level, listen, you got to take your kid out of school. I mean, if it even gets to the level,
pandemic, can't they force it?
Well, they're going to say they can force it, sir, but the bottom line is they really cannot. Listen, we're not under UN law. We're not under international law. Yeah, it says it in that document. Yes, that is going to be the framework for which they build on, which they're building the infrastructure now. But you just have to straight up say, no, look, I am not one of those guys that preaches, the Second Amendment, we got to get out there, we got to take this country back. But that's what the Second Amendment is for. If somebody is coming into your home and saying, look, you're coming with us or else, or you're taking this or else, that's when the Second Amendment is the most useful for us. That's when it really has to be taken into place. And you know what? I haven't read this Common Sense article by Larry Flint. I'm going to do so in the next segment. Jones only read like the first half of it in his radio show. He does talk about a Jefferson quote here that I think is extremely relevant. So listen, this is the best advice I can give you. Keep your head up, okay? Keep your ear to the ground. Educate your kid. Let them know it's not okay to take any shot. And if they try to force them into a line or say they're taking a shot, to immediately contact you. I don't know how old your child is, but I would suggest maybe getting them a prepaid cell phone. Go spend the $30 for a, Virgin mobile
11,
phone.
And I said, just start running. Just start running home.
Well, where are they going to run to? Sir, that's the thing. Listen, if they've got a cell phone and they can contact you immediately, at least you can get down there. And if you really want them to run to somewhere and have you meet them somewhere, that's the best way. Have a plan. Be close to your family. That's the best advice I can give you, sir. I thank you for the call. Let's go to Roland in Massachusetts. Roland, you're on the line. Yes,
it's
sir.
an honor to talk to you.
Thank you.
Done a lot of great things I want to share with your listeners, especially if they live in Massachusetts. There's an organization statewide. It's called Liberty Preservation Association of Massachusetts, masslpa.org. We are launching a campaign. We've already been doing this, but now in the fall they're planning on retaking up this bill in the House, which already passed in the Senate. It's a pandemic and disaster preparation and response bill, and it passed the Senate already. Now they're planning on taking it up in October in the House.